Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of The Terri Cole Show. I want to start with a question. Do you have people in your life who are difficult, demanding, and so much so that when it comes to the point of you actually saying something or speaking your mind, you're just like, wow, totally not worth it. Like, don't even want to deal with the hassle that is going to come along with having this conversation? Anybody? Well, if you're nodding your head yes, then this video is for you, because today I'm sharing tips on how you can verbally de-escalate a situation with someone who is unreasonable, incredibly difficult, hard to manage. I'm giving you proactive ways that you can approach that impossible person and how to protect yourself from being harmed by this type of interaction, because it is harmful. So before we get started, if you are new to this channel, please introduce yourself in the comments. We're a very friendly group. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so that you get notified when we roll out new videos, which is every Tuesday and Thursday. I wouldn't want you to miss a thing. So that is what we're doing. If you don't know me, my name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert, and the author of Boundary Boss, which you can get at boundarybossbook.com. So I want to say thank you for all of your questions and your comments. You know, I read them all and I love to highlight them. So today I'm highlighting a comment from Marsha James under the episode Appreciation Rituals for Lasting Love. Thank you so much for this. As someone who survived divorce, these are tools and green flags I can definitely aim at in my future purpose partner. I love it. My future life purpose partner is what I'm trying to say. Very exciting, Marsha. Thank you so much for being here. I super appreciate you. Okay, let's move into today's episode. Listen, we all have unreasonable people in our lives. That's a fact. Some people have more than others, but it's very unlikely that anyone has zero. We all have the difficult personalities. Some are more difficult than others. Again, right? You might have someone who has mental health challenges, and that's a different kind of unreasonable for different reasons. But the real question that I'm answering in this episode is, how do we deal with those folks and keep our own sanity intact? So I want to start with how to verbally de-escalate a situation with someone who is quick to escalate when you're talking about something that they don't like, when they're upset or mad about something. So we really have to get strategic with these personality types in our lives, because if not, then we are left way too vulnerable to deal with whatever it is that they are dishing out. So what can we do to de-escalate? First is you got to stay calm, even when they're not being calm, right? Don't let their activation, to the best of your ability, activate you. Listen to what they're saying, because when someone is already in this activated state, if you start interrupting or really hardcore pushing back, it's not a good outcome for either, right? There's not going to be deeper understanding, but you also now are really in the fray with them, which you don't want to do. Try not to judge, right? Do your best to stay as neutral as possible, but don't say anything that is super judgmental if we are trying to de-escalate. Instead of saying, I know how you feel, right, to someone who is already activated, it can be much more effective if you say, tell me, help me understand how you feel. So much of the time with folks like this, they have very low tolerance for their own frustration. And so what they really need is to vent. Now, I'm not saying you need to be the person that they vent to all the time. I'm saying if you find yourself in a situation and this person is getting activated, these are things that you can do. Really work to avoid being defensive. And again, this can be really hard when someone is being unreasonable. All I want to be is defensive and point out how ridiculous they're being. Honestly, personally, I don't. If I'm dealing with someone and I'm actually trying to de-escalate, but there is such a natural desire to defend ourselves. So know that that's there, but try not to be defensive, because it won't make it better. So much of the time, the underlying thing that the person needs is what we really have to find. And again, you don't have to be a professional therapist to do this. Someone who is upset and has had a rough experience and they're kind of projecting it onto you or having displaced aggression onto you, it's like what they want to be a lot of times is heard. Like, okay, I'm here with you. I'm listening to what you have to say. With de-escalation, a lot of times we want to step away from the conversation altogether if we can. But if you do it abruptly, it will not de-escalate. And a lot of times someone who's already activated may come after you to want to continue, like needing to be seen, wanting to be heard. So shutting it down in a sort of aggressive or a harsh way is definitely not the thing to do if de-escalating is what you want to do. Stay calm, let them have their say, and then when it makes sense and you can do it in a way that isn't too abrupt, you can extricate yourself from that situation. But we also have to know the people in our lives, and that's going to move us to the next tip of how to deal with unreasonable or impossible people, is you've got to get proactive. If these are people in your life, in your family, you know them. You know this is the way they are, so don't take the bait if they're seeking to bait you into a conflict that you have no desire to be in. And so much of the time, it's not even your conflict. Folks like this they want to fight about anything. They want to be the opposite of whatever it is you're saying. I have someone like this in my life where no matter what I'm saying, they will always take the other side and be like, well, I don't know, that's a little short-sighted, don't you think? I mean, I can understand, even though in real life, I know that he agrees with so much of what I'm talking about, and I never understood it. So with that person, I've employed all of these things to step back from being sucked into the conflict. Some people this is how they communicate, even though it doesn't make sense, right? And I don't like to communicate with people who it feels like they're intentionally misunderstanding what I'm saying, so then they can justify being upset about whatever it is they're feeling upset about. Being proactive means also knowing yourself, right? If you are a codependent, if you are an auto fixer, if you are someone who you always have an answer for someone, you always want to be of service to someone, you need to know that about yourself. And being proactive is getting really clear when you're in the thick of it with someone about what your situation is, because your situation really is not to save the other person from themselves, because it's not even possible to do so. This is how they're going through life. Your job is knowing who they are, right? Some people are really attached to their unhappiness. Some people are really attached to their misery. It's a part of their identity in a way that it's very hard for them to separate it out. They're the person who always talks about what bad luck they have and how life is so unfair to them and how they're so exhausted and can't they get a break and all of those types of things. So if you're in there trying to be like Miss Fix-It for what it is that they're complaining about, they will definitely find a way to have you then be the target of their anger that you don't understand or whatever it is. So if you're an auto advice giver, an auto fixer, a highly codependent human being, you want to be really clear about this misery loves company crowd, so to speak, and just allow them to be without taking it on. And if they're accusing you of something, you can say, no, actually, I'm not taking that on. That's not mine. But if you want to talk about how you're feeling, that's okay. We have a tendency, if you're a high-functioning codependent, or you are a fixer, or you are a natural-born helper, let's say, we can attract these types into our lives because they're so attracted to the light of someone who's like, hey, no, we'll figure this out. It's all going to work out. I'm not talking about hyperpositivity or all the bypassing. I'm really talking about, I feel like personality-wise, there are people who are really good problem solvers, because they don't want to live in misery. So they're like, okay, there's a problem, let's fix it. But for people who wallow in their misery, any solution you come up with, they'll come up with another problem as to why that solution doesn't work. So again, you're just getting deeper and deeper into the quicksand with folks who don't want what you're selling, right? They are not picking up what you are putting down. So you need to stop letting it take bandwidth in your life and allow them to be the way that they are. When I have friends like this who are, I think, unreasonable or difficult or super in love with their misery. But if they're people I'm devoted to, if I love them, I long ago have stopped making any suggestions about what they should do. I will say, hey, I have no doubt you'll figure it out. That also pisses them off, but I don't care because then it gives me the freedom to exit. And if they're really pushing, I'll say, I have no doubt you'll figure it out because you're the only one who can, which is the truth. But again, we can't approach others, right, like they are like us. A couple of episodes ago, I did something on positive projection, where we make assumptions that other people are like us, that they want the things that we want, that they are like us in life and in the world. And people aren't. And that doesn't make them bad. It just makes them not like us. So we can't come from the assumption that if I have a problem, I want to solve it. That is not the case for other people. So we really have to keep our own emotions in check when it comes to folks like this. And the last thing to think about is, how do you protect yourself from being harmed by this type of person? And what do you think I'm going to say? Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. This is how we do it. Listen, it's hard enough to set boundaries, or can be challenging to set boundaries with others. Hence why I wrote a whole book and have a whole course on it. But doing it with someone who you know is a difficult person and is definitely going to push back can be doubly challenging, right? And here's the thing, even if you say the boundary script perfectly, if you said it all just right, there are some people who are difficult who they will find a way to take issue with the way that you said it, with your tone of voice, with whatever assumption. So for some people, even with drawing boundaries, no matter how you do it, you're going to be doing it wrong according to them. But the thing that you can do is raise your own awareness to boundary setting. Are you okay doing it? Do you even know how? Can you step back from some of these relationships? I mean, we know what boundary setting is, right? It means communicating your preferences, your desires, your limits, and your deal breakers. And if you have someone who is constantly accusing you of something, or who always calls you and wants to complain about the same shit that they're not going to do one effing thing to change, like that is your one and only life. Hey, that's your choice. Me? I cannot. Who the hell has time for that? We just don't. And you're like, why are you taking up all this bandwidth in my life? But the question isn't that. That's the wrong question. What's the right question? Why am I letting you? Why am I allowing you to do it? And we know why. Guilt, fear of being rejected. Listen, there's so many reasons why we find ourselves in this situation. And you have to know, again, who you're dealing with. Is it a boundary bully? Someone who, no matter what you say no to, no matter where you're trying to assert yourself, they're going to have a problem with it. Then you know that person is a boundary bully and that's a control thing. Are they a first timer, right? Maybe you have never said anything to this person. And if you do, perhaps they would stop calling you to complain about the same thing, or maybe something would get through. But it requires us, and being a boundary boss, this requires us as well, to deal with our own side of the street. The reason we don't auto-fix and make suggestions to folks like this, or really anybody, is because the moment we do, we're now on their side of the street. So we need to, again, walk it back to, what is my responsibility? Am I taking responsibility emotionally for something that is not my responsibility? We can stay completely supportive of someone without auto-fixing. And I have all of this in the guide for you guys. So just go to terricole.com/guide, and everything I'm talking about, you'll see there's prompts in there for you and ideas of things that you can do. But you have to know yourself, because we do attract these types of people. And it is painful to be walking on eggshells in your own life because of an impossible or unreasonable or very difficult person. Many of you have written into me, what do I do? It's my aging parent. It's my aging uncle. It's my sister, whoever it is. The bottom line is, you can stay lovingly attached to the people in your life and not take this stuff on. So I want to hear from you. Do you have unreasonable or impossible people in your life? Drop me comments, tag me on Instagram. I want to know what you think about the information that I've given you in this episode, I hope that you have an amazing week. And as always, take care of you.